My daughter had let her go with her father for a couple of hours. We came back to pick her up. He wouldn't give her to us.
Asia and her daughter begged and pleaded for 24-year-old Charles Evans to give her back, even involving police and Child Protective Services, who all allegedly said the baby was safe and there was nothing they could do. Then, 3 weeks later,
My officer called us and said that we need to rush down to Sinai Grace. Um, Kinsley has been pronounced dead.
Kinsley was found with bruises and, according to the family, ribs that had clearly been broken. The FIPIA supervisor involved in Kinsley's case was placed on administrative leave, but there were no charges.
Nobody was locked up for Kinsley's death until now.
Charles Evans has now been charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse. And we've also now learned from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that the CPS supervisor on leave has now been fired.
My son is unresponsive right now. He got something coming out his mouth.
What do you think is coming out?
I'm not sure what it is. I know he likes to eat his own poop and lay in his own pee all day.
Everywhere, everywhere, the usual, might I add. I've been dealing with this for probably since he was 2 years old, he's been doing this. Yeah, and so I've been very tired. I ain't slept in 3 days, so I'm just sitting there. And here he come rolling down the stairs again, ba-doom, ba-doom. So I tell him to go back upstairs. A little while later, I go up there, I see a stick in his ass, like a chair leg. So I asked him, what is he doing? And he's just steady, you know what I mean? Just steady doing what he do. This ain't the first time he tried something like that. So I see blood on the ground and I asked him to pull it out. You know what I mean? Blood squirted immediately. Now I'm freaking out. I'm like, hurry up. You need to get downstairs so I can get you in the shower. You know what I mean? And see what's going on. So at the time, I didn't think nothing of it. I just see that he bruised up as usual. Seeing he never stopped. They find any type of way, anything to use just to put a bruise on his body. So as a parent, I just put him in the shower. I put him in the bathtub to try to, get some of the swelling to go down or whatever the situation may have been, clean him up, make sure he was good. So I'm sitting on the couch. He like, Dad, come here. He like, Dad, help. So I come up the stairs to help him. And that's when I noticed his body was cold, very, very, very cold. So I took him downstairs and tried to rinse him off, to see if he'd shake out of it, wake up. I had no clue of knowing that he was sick to that extent, or that this is gonna go anywhere near this far. I just figured he was doing his normal acting out. He was kind of tweaking a little bit, you know what I mean? But as far as just like this, this is my way of describing it, just like this. But this is something that he done pulled for many years. All the time, damn near every day. Every time he don't want to have his way, this is what he's pulling. Can't get him to eat his breakfast. He don't want to eat his breakfast. All he want to do is eat his feces. So I'm like, all right, at this point, there's nothing I can do but let him sit there and lay down. Okay. So, like I said, he said, Dad, help. And I came up the stairs. That's why I'm shocked. Right now, I'm not even crying or nothing. I'm just like in shock. Like, my child really dead? How? You hear me? It's what I don't understand. Now, I know them girls didn't do nothing to him and kill him. I just don't understand it. I'm very serious. That's where I'm at. It was shocking. Yeah.
Al seems to be laying the groundwork for a narrative where his abusive actions can be painted as reactions towards a difficult child, which brings us to Al's discussion about Dakota eating his own feces. What you're about to hear now will make a shiver run down your spine.
Now they're saying that you're a person of interest now. Why would it? Oh, open the door, open the door.
So if you didn't know, this woman's name is Brianna Williams, and what you just watched was her reaction to finding out that the police had discovered her sinister secret. So back in early November of 2019, Brianna contacts the police in order to report her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor Williams, missing, stating that she had seen her the night before, but in the morning she was gone. Taylor's disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, and people quickly began looking for her, but she was nowhere to be found. However, weeks into the investigation, doubts begin to surface as detectives realize Brianna's story just doesn't make sense. Then, all of a sudden, Taylor's remains are found 400 miles away from her house, with investigators ruling that her cause of death was starvation, meaning Brianna had unalived her. At this point, Brianna knows that the police had figured out what she had done, so she tries to unalive herself, but this fails and she gets arrested. In court, Brianna is found guilty of Taylor's death and is sentenced to a well-deserved life in prison. Brianna's story shows that you cannot escape justice and that karma will always catch up to you.
A Phoenix mother is behind bars this morning after investigators say she killed her baby by trying to give her a, quote, back-cracking adjustment. 26-year-old Wanda Johnson is now facing charges of murder and child abuse. Her 3-month-old daughter died back in March. During a follow-up interview this week, detectives say Johnson told them that she squeezed her daughter and cracked her back. An autopsy showed the infant suffered blunt force injuries to her head and chest. A judge set $1 million bond.
Hall of Justice in Detroit, Michigan. 25-year-old Jasmine Gordon and her 34-year-old boyfriend, Clifford Thomas, are being sentenced today for the death of Gordon's 3-year-old daughter, Jamila Smith. Thomas, who is not Jamila's father, was babysitting the girl when he claims she hit her head and stopped breathing. But authorities ruled her death a homicide, indicating the child died of multiple blunt force trauma injuries. Both Gordon and Thomas were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, among other charges.
The verdict will stand. As found by the jury.
Today, Gordon and Thomas appear in court together, so family members won't have to deliver impact statements twice.
She made a bad choice, a real bad choice, and to let this stranger babysit her kids, because that man was a total stranger to them kids.
Sitting just off camera in the gallery is the dead child's father, Dwayne Smith. There's only a few feet and not much else between Smith and the man convicted of killing his daughter. When he's asked to deliver an impact statement, he delivers.
My daughter had let her go with her father for a couple of hours. We came back to pick her up. He wouldn't give her to us.
Asia and her daughter begged and pleaded for 24-year-old Charles Evans to give her back, even involving police and Child Protective Services, who all allegedly said the baby was safe and there was nothing they could do. Then, 3 weeks later,
My officer called us and said that we need to rush down to Sinai Grace. Kinsley has been pronounced dead.
Kinsley was found with bruises and, according to the family, ribs that had clearly been broken. The FEPA supervisor involved in Kinsley's case was placed on administrative leave, but there were no charges.
Nobody was locked up for Kinsley's death until now.
Charles Evans has now been charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse. And we've also now learned from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that the CPS supervisor on leave has now been fired.
For each victim as previously named in counts 1 through 34 of the indictment, with the specific amount to be determined at a later time. Mr. Cruz, you are remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections to complete the mandatory life sentences imposed by the court. I am also granting the state's motion under the Florida equivalent of the Son of Sam law, which means, Mr. Cruz, you will not be able to benefit in any way as far as monies are concerned as to the crimes that you committed. Mr. Cruz, you're still under oath. Are you in agreement that you're not asking for a PSI in this case? Okay. Is there anything else? All right, he's remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections. And he's to be given credit in the amount of 1,718 days time served.
It's heartbreaking that a 12-year-old girl, K-I-L-L, her 8-year-old cousin over a cell phone. On the night of the 17th, they were sleeping in bunk beds in a room at her grandmother's house. The 12-year-old girl covered her 8-year-old cousin Demelia's head with a pillow and a sheet until she became unresponsive. The little girl's name is Demaria, and this horrific act was captured on surveillance video. You can see her wiping Demelia's body and face with a tissue after her cousin was not breathing. She even moved Demelia's body to make it look like she was sleeping so she wouldn't be noticed. The next morning, when Grandma noticed something unusual, she watched the surveillance video. That's when she saw the 12-year-old torturing her 8-year-old cousin with pillows, blankets, quilts, and anything she could find, all because of an iPhone. Demaria is charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence and is currently being held in a juvenile detention center. But prosecutors are asking for her to be charged as an adult, and it's all so horrible.
Was it with all your force, all your strength? You just threw him in there?
I don't know. I think so.
You think so? So you, with all your force, just like that, as hard as you could.
Not really as hard, but
hard enough.
Marissa is still vague in her description. But Graham getting up is important here because it makes Marissa have to demonstrate what she did. Graham clearly dramatized the throw from a very far distance, which forced Marissa to have to clarify that she didn't throw Benson from such a far-off distance. But she did, in fact, throw him.
Did he cry? Is that what you're saying? Or did he stop crying? He just cried for a couple minutes. And then what else happened? And that was it. Saw multiple injuries. Yeah, I promise you, I do not know where he got the injuries. Promise. Did you grab him by a hand, by a foot? No.
That's why I asked you, Marissa, how were you holding him when you threw him into the packet plate? Because he has some other injuries.
Right. I said he has some broken bones. He does. I don't think he meant to do it that hard.
Did he tumble a little bit when you threw him in the packet plate? Like, did he roll?
I don't know.
Because I could see if you're walking down the hallway, you come in the room, you're a little upset and frustrated, you throw him like that. I could see that he might tumble a little bit in the packet plate and maybe get lodged up against something. I wasn't there, Marissa, so help me understand in my mind what happened when you threw him. What happened?
I was just frustrated and threw him in the pack and play.
And what did you see happen when he landed in the pack and play? What happened to his body?
Mm-hmm.
Did he just stay in one position, or did he roll, or?
I think he hit the side, but that's about it.
What part of him hit the side?
His head.
And was it the corner where it's hard, or was it?
Yeah, it was the corner.
Which corner?
I don't know. One of the corners.
So was he kind of then just curled up in the corner?
I don't think so. I think maybe his head was down.
So you throw him in. He tumbles into the corner of the packet plate.
Mm-hmm.
Is he face down at that point, or is he face up, or is he to the side?
His face down.
Okay. So you throw him down on his back. He tumbles a little bit into the corner of the packet plate, and his face is down.
Mm-hmm.
Then do you pick him up again and throw him down, or what do you do?
No.
What did you do?
I just picked him up and put him in the middle.
Even while she confesses to throwing him into the pack and play and then rearranging his body, Marissa doesn't appear to have any remorse for what she did to Benson.
You throw him in there. He tumbles into the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You had said that he cried for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Now you're saying, no? Well, did you just stand there for a couple minutes?
Just stand or?
And just...
Well, maybe not a couple minutes, maybe a minute or less.
Did you stay in the room with him or go out before you put on back on his stomach?